Welcome to the NANOG 82 virtual hackathon. I'm really excited to be here. I'm sitting with participants and organizers. Michael Costello is a NANOG committee chair as well as Netflix director of engineering. Michael, go ahead and tell me what you were most impressed by with this year's hackathon.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Like most hackathons, I'm continue to be impressed by a number of people show up and they spend their weekend working on hard problems when they could be spending their weekend doing anything else. They come in here, they show vulnerability and that they don't know everything but are willing to learn. They're willing to meet other people and rise to the challenge to learn something new.
What did you find most challenging during this process? Jeff, I'm going to throw this question to you and go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone.
Hi, I'm Jeff Barteg. I'm a network architect for Internet 2, and I'm a member of the program committee and the hackathon subcommittee. I think for the organizers, I think a big challenge was that we looked at a completely new way of offering virtual labs this time. We're using Container Lab, and so leading up to the hackathon, members of the team put a lot of effort into making sure that worked well.
Steve, tell me what is most different. As Jeff had mentioned, we're doing this remotely as opposed to being in a large room together due to the pandemic. In what other ways has hackathon changed over the years?
Over the past many years, perhaps struggled with trying to define what we want the hackathon to be. We've gone back and forth between it being very free form. We just invite people into a room, give them some power and network and tell them to go build something, to having a very prescribed, almost a training course type of event. The pendulum has swung back more toward do it on your own, but here's a set of tools and a theme you can use to organize around if you want to. I personally really enjoyed the way it was done this time, because let me sort of develop on the fly what I wanted to do and then go ahead and do it at my own pace. Changing from in-person in a single room to virtual has brought a whole new set of challenges, and we spent a good part of last year trying to figure out how to deal with it. And I think we've settled on something pretty good here. Biggest surprise to me, but also the greatest thing, is that by going virtual, we have allowed people from all over the world to come in and contribute and collaborate. I mean, just look at the Tony and Barry team. This is their third hackathon in a row, where they're sitting pretty much at opposite ends of the world and working on something together. I think that's great.
Prior to this, we're just an organizer. So this one is kind of an extra special event because you participated for the first time. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. And it was great for me because I got to see the other side finally. And I found a way to do something fun at the same time.
I did get to talk to Michael about how this is such a passion sport. Can you talk more about that?
I mentioned during my presentation earlier that I love to learn new things. And this gives me a way of doing that in bite-sized chunks where I can pick up some new technologies, play with them, and see where things lead. The fact that everybody here was willing to give up most of their weekend to do this, like as Michael said, is an amazing thing. It means that we're all passionate about what we do, the technology, the educational aspects of it, and to be honest, the social aspects as well. So my project ended up being to install a NANOG container, use that to create some source of truth data, and then write a script that would use that data to use GNMI to update router configs. This is what I had to do in Container Lab to get it running. I added exactly these lines to the Container Lab config, and it came up and it ran. The only little bit of magic here is this bind statement, which let me create a directory on the host system, which was shared amongst all of the containers. I added this to the to the Linux containers as well. So it made sharing code amongst them very easy. So this here is the NANOG main screen. So I created two whole devices, which I will show you here. So these are the CEOS device and the SRL Nokia device. So here's the four interfaces on the device with descriptions and IP addresses. What I ended up being able to automate in the time I had was updating the interface descriptions on the devices from what NANOG claims is a source of truth here. So if I go to, well, first I'll go to this window. All I'm doing is show interfaces descriptions, so you can see the descriptions here. Should match what's here in Autobot. Now I'll go to this window, which is one of the CentOS containers on the in the lab, and I'll run /update descriptions, and it's going to read through Autobot, looking at all the devices, looking at the configurations on the devices. So it says that the descriptions don't need to be changed because they match what's on the device. So I'm going to go here, and I am going to change. Let's see, I will edit the loopback interface and change it to demo time and update. So you can see that it's updated here. So I'm going to go here, run my script again. Takes a little bit of a moment. Okay, so here you can see that it had to update the description on loopback 0. Now if I go to the actual device and do show interfaces description, again, you can see that it was set to demo time. The big thing that I came out of this with is that there are so many tools that let you put together bits and pieces of things in useful ways and play with them. It's just a matter of learning the tools and finding the time to dig when you want to.
What are you most excited about for future hackathons?
I'm really impressed with the pace at which we've seen the lab environments improve. I've been networking for 20 some years now, and starting with here is your hardware to play with, go in and connect to things, to a system where you can more or less spin up any topology you want, run whatever tools, grab them, and the ease of which tools can be spun up and deployed, topologies can be deployed. I'm only looking to see that improving, and with that, I'm seeing a lot of opportunities for teams to maybe not so much develop a lot of their own code, but just figure out interesting ways of putting tools together in different tool chains and different combinations to make some interesting systems happen. We've seen that a few times where and a lot of the hacks we see, we took this project and made a plugin to make it talk to this one, and just putting the glue between a lot of existing stuff. And what the nice thing about that is that you can say, all right, I'm not going to build everything from scratch. There's a lot of technology out there. Maybe not all of it is intended for network engineers. A lot of it is geared towards systems, but the wall between network systems and services, and running software as web services, APIs, that's starting to get fuzzy enough that a lot of things can apply to both, and that's really exciting to see what people are going to do with that next, as those lines start continue to blur even further.
So coming into this hackathon, you basically have shared a whole new evolution of tools, starting with container labs. So this is the topology that is running off of my sort of virtual lab. You can see that it all comes alive on a very bare minimum resources. So this is a 4 gig virtual instance off to a main host of Windows, and you can see that it is hardly using half of it. The lab itself, the way it gets constructed, is pretty much all these commands that I was able to run in. Of course, you need Docker support. You would need to have the right Docker CE instance for the kind of Ubuntu that you are running. The guy was talking about Focal and using Pursuit. So, and then of that, once we are done with Docker CE implementation, then FRR lab instances, they were pretty easy to spin up because it does provide you with PCs with a login to a shell, as well as to a router login to VTY SH.
All right, Tony, who is all the way in South Africa. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today, Tony?
Hi. I'm doing good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. So has it been a long weekend for you?
Not so much, but it's been good. It's been a great experience as the last few have been.
Why should someone participate in the future?
Well, I think for me, I think coming from South Africa, for instance, like a lot of people would like always be fascinated about what's happening in the US, closer to Silicon Valley. And what's always fascinating to me is that the access to knowledge, to information, to the internet is all the same. So, working with people from different organizations, well-known organizations, and we get to collaborate on the same problems and solve the same problems, kind of highlights the fact that we are a whole lot more unified and there isn't a lot that separates us. So for me, that is enough for anyone else to just come and participate and see what other people are working on. And you find out that we kind of are all working on solving the same things.
Is this your first hackathon?
No, it is not. I have been participating since October of 2020. That was my first hackathon. And there I met Tony and we started to work together and have been working together for 3 hackathons now, if you count this one.
Wow, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So what drew you to the specific topic you chose?
Well, I've been wanting to focus more on network automation and network scaling, as well as network management. So I was drawn to the idea of being able to take the streaming telemetry, the stream of data, and do something useful with it.
You do seem to learn a lot in a small span of time.
Yeah, it was a fun 48 hours. Like Tony said, I went to bed at 6 a.m. today, learning Vue.js. So I just wanted to get that working out of the way.
Most of the hackathons that I've participated in have always been successful. So for me, it was just that in my previous roles, I'd never had the chance to come to NANOG. So I think that the first time that I attended was a good opportunity. One, because it was I could join online, and also having been in the midst of lockdowns and restrictions, it was a good way to travel without leaving my home.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And socialize.
Yeah. So I think the one thing about the pandemic was that we kind of have been able to actually reach each other even more seamlessly, ironically enough, from from the comfort of our home. And for me, that if things were as normal, I probably would have had something else more important to do. So that was a good opportunity for me.
That's really interesting that the pandemic opened up this door for you guys to bond and find camaraderie.
Yeah.
Very cool. Javier, what kind of advice would you give to future participants?
Don't be afraid to join. And again, come with an open mind. If you don't have a project, you don't know what to do. There is an amazing staff of mentors with Chris, Michael, Jeff, that they're going to help you all the way in. And you're going to meet people like Tony and Barry and Steven and Sean that are open to help you with anything you have questions about. And just, don't be afraid. If you want to learn, if you want to meet new people and share experiences, it's the right place to do it.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me and all the rest of you. I enjoyed it thoroughly. So cool to connect to so many different kinds of people all over the world. Michael, do you have any closing thoughts?
Well, I guess yes. I wanted to thank everybody here who participated, and I wanted to thank everybody who helped organize it, and I want to thank the in-kind sponsors, Nokia, Arista, and Deft for providing the virtualized lab infrastructure. So thanks again, everybody.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you all for helping and mentoring.